The views and opinions expressed on this program are solely those of the speakers and not necessarily those of GEB America, Oral Roberts University, or their employees. This program is not intended to offer investment, financial, medical, legal, or any other advice. Viewers should consult a subject matter professional regarding any such matters.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the GEB America podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Gunn, and we are in for a great one, another great one, as always. We bring you good content, good guests with us here, and so we're about to jump into, I'm going to call this the Gunn Show today. I think that's the appropriate one for us. And we'll get to our guests here in just a second, but before we do, I want to say thanks to the Angel Studios Guild for supporting the GEB America podcast. Help bring stories that matter to life. Join the guild at angel.com/guild. Also, a big thank you to our True God apparel for supporting the GEB America podcast. Check out their bold, faith-filled designs at ourtruegod.com. Got some of them right here. Got some hats, really cool cross. And a shirt goes with a polo shirt goes with it. I've got a number of things that I wear. Typically, this is one of those. I chose to wear a little bit nicer, spiffed up. But I do want to say thanks to our ourtruegod.com sponsors. Well, like I said, it is the Gunn Show today. We've got the one and only Greg Gunn from just down the road from me here, down in Oklahoma City area. We're here in the Tulsa vicinity. And Greg, thank you for coming. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Wow, thank you so much, Stephen. It was just such a privilege to meet you, to realize that our youngest daughter, Mariah, met you and met your wife as one of her professors at ORU, and she came home or called us on the phone and told us about, we've got to obviously have a cousin that is a professor at ORU, because there aren't very many Guns. I don't find that many.
Yeah.
There's more, as I started looking, there are quite a few, but
yeah,
I don't meet that many. So it's just awesome to meet you, buddy.
Well, likewise. Growing up in Tulsa, there actually was a Greg Gunn here in the Tulsa area. I think that was connected with the TCBY franchises for a number of years. And actually, his daughter and I went to school together, unbeknownst to us. And we started getting mail for another Gun, a girl name with a gun. I'm like, that's not even a Stephanie or Steven. I'm Steven. I've gotten some mail for Stephanie before going, that's not me. But this was one of those that it was definitely somebody else. So it is a small world when you come across another Gun family. But man, that is great. And I think that the reason we're kind of harping on the Gun name is kind of a little bit a tip to what God has kind of put you into, which is the family, and family being calling and your purpose. And so walk us through a little bit. Let's go back just a little bit. Tell those, for those who don't know, a bit about, like, who are you? Who's Greg Gunn? And then also maybe where did your journey with Jesus start? Like, what does that look like for you?
Well, that's great. Yeah. Thank you. I grew up in a little small town in southeast Oklahoma, Ada, Oklahoma.
Okay.
My parents were wonderful Christian parents and just taught us early to pray. They would tuck us in every night and we prayed together. Before we went to school, we prayed. Before every meal, we prayed. I mean, we went to church together every time the doors were open, that kind of thing. And man, I'm just so thankful for my Christian heritage, and even my grandparents and even great grandparents, the faith of our fathers and the joy of being able to continue to live that out generation after generation. And really not even knowing that we had this Christian family heritage, that it really is a privilege. There is this, what I'm just recently beginning to give it a name, which is there is family privilege, a privilege of being a part of a family.
Yeah.
Because we're seeing a breakdown of the family in the world, literally a worldwide breakdown, a lack of family vision that has infiltrated all of the earth, not just in America, but everywhere. And so, boy, for us to be able to really highlight the power of the privilege that comes, and I mean that in the most loving, kind privilege, not the dark side of privilege, but in
not arrogant or anything, but just the
very
gifting.
Very good. It's just, it's not something that we created. It's something that we can perpetuate, and we can restart. Every generation can restart saying, hey, we're gonna operate from a position of a family vision. So the way this started for me, for my wife and I, Rhonda, is that I left Ada, Oklahoma to move to Oklahoma City to start college at a Christian university in Bethany, Oklahoma, what is today Southern Nazarene University. That's where my
Yeah.
parents met.
Okay.
And then my wife and I, Rhonda, met there.
I love that.
About in 1980, I met Rhonda, and we were just going into our junior year at what is now Southern Nazarene University, and God just really brought us together. There's this awesome story of how God put us together, and I may just share that real quick.
Go for it. I'd love to hear that.
But
That'd be great.
yeah, it's really powerful. I grew up Nazarene, and so the Nazarene church, we didn't really operate in the gifts of the Spirit. We believed in the fruit of the Spirit, right? Of course, but we didn't operate much in the gifts of the Spirit. But just have such a great heritage that came from our faith and our faith tradition. But I was very interested in the moving of the Spirit, and I wanted to see the supernatural become more natural, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so just very open to that. And my
Yeah.
parents would my father was a pharmaceutical rep, and so he had lots of hours in the car. His territory was Southeast Oklahoma, so he would be working 2 weeks out of town, and then 2 weeks he would work in town in the local area. And so he listened to a ton of old 8-track tape. Some of you know what I'm talking about and what an 8-track tape was, but and then he went to cassette tape,
There you go.
and he became a consumer of all Christian literature. Man, he had
Wow.
over 1,000 Christian books that he had read. He listened to all the different Christian leaders. There's a powerful Bible teacher that he would listen to. His name was Malcolm Smith. So if you could ever find some Malcolm Smith YouTube videos, the guy is just one of the deepest
Wow.
Bible teachers I've ever met. He's from England, and I think he's recently passed away. Anyway, he would listen to a lot of that. He would listen to a lot of Kenneth Hagin, and I began to learn some things much deeper of the Spirit through listening to some of those tapes. So I inherited some of those from my father, listened to them. Anyway, got very interested in that, and then found out that there's this pastor, this evangelist that was coming to Oklahoma City. My roommate, I grew up with him in Ada, and his mother grew up in the Pentecostal holiness faith tradition. And this particular evangelist would come to her local church every so often, and he had a healing ministry. And I'd never seen anyone healed like in front of me, right? Or
Yeah. Right.
somebody laying hands on the sick and they recovering and that kind of thing. So I was just interested in that and found out that this particular pastor's name was Jerry B. Walker, and he was going to be in Oklahoma City, and it was being advertised and on TBN and so forth. And
Mhm.
so I thought my roommate's mother said, "Hey, you guys need to go hear this guy speak. I've heard him over the years, and you're really gonna be blessed by this guy." So I thought, "Oh, good. I get to go see somebody healed, like
Yeah.
an arm grow out or something awesome." So go to this service, but then I'm also this real skeptical. I was 19 years old. I don't know. I don't know. Come here from Sikkim. I don't know how I could evaluate anybody really, but anyway, I'm going to this service, and I'm trying to kind of pick it apart. Is this guy really for real? Does this stuff really work? Um, do these words of knowledge,
Right.
that kind of thing. I'd never
Yeah.
really seen a lot of that. And so, but just very interested in it. So I go on a Sunday morning. He preaches his sermon, a great sermon, and yet I was kind of making fun of the guy. And so I got back. He was just really flamboyant. He would whirl around, and he was just, if anyone had ever known Jerry B. Walker, you would know what I mean by flamboyant. He was just really animated. And so I was really kind of picking him apart. And I went back to my campus there after church on Sunday, and telling my friends, "Oh, guys, you're not going to believe who I saw today. This guy, I don't know, I can't imagine him being for real. He's a little fruity. I don't know what 19-year-old is thinking that I can
Sure.
evaluate
Right.
anybody. But anyway, so I'm going back. He said, now there was no healing service that morning. He said, if you'll come back Sunday night, we're going to have a healing service. And I thought, oh, okay, now we're going to get to the good stuff. So I want to come back on Sunday night, and he preaches another just wonderfully biblical sermon, And then he says, all right, there's someone here in this audience who has night blindness. And if you will come forward, I'll lay hands on you and the Lord will heal you of night blindness. And so I'm sitting there thinking, no, wait a minute. How can you tell if someone is healed of night blindness? Right? It's
Yeah.
like,
That's a good point.
uh,
Yeah.
I know what he did. He probably told someone before the service, look, if no one gets up, you need to be the one that gets up and comes down front so that we can keep this ruse going.
Yeah. Right.
Again, why am I thinking like that? I have no idea. But anyway,
Well, but hang on. There's a lot of people that watch stuff like that now that think that, right?
well, of course,
There
yes, yes.
must be something else happening. There's got to be another reason for this than God actually moving. So
This
go
can't
ahead.
be for real. Yeah. Good word. So a lot of skepticism there. Yet I'm also extremely interested. So there's
Yeah.
this dichotomy of I want it to be real. I said, I hope this is real. So then he says, all right, there's someone else out there whose feet hurt them all the time. In fact, you've taken your shoes off. You're barefooted right now in this service. If you'll come forward, the Lord's going to heal you of this horrible foot problem. Sure enough, a lady steps out barefooted, walks down to the front, and I'm thinking, okay, now how can you tell if someone's feet quit hurting? And it's again more skepticism. He does that, several different things like that,
Mhm.
and then he says, "There's someone here who's just wanted to throw in the towel. They've tried this Christian life. The Christian life just doesn't work. You're ready just to give up on it, And I'm thinking, well, looking around, well, it's really not me. And all of a sudden I stand up. I didn't want to stand up. I wasn't thinking about standing up, but now I'm standing up and I'm looking around. He looks at me and points out and says, I was just fixing to come get you. No, come down front. So I come walking down front. And he says, what is your name? My name is Greg Gunn. He said, no, where are you from? Well, I go to Bethany Nazarene College here in Bethany. Oh, okay, everyone. We've got a Nazarene fella here that he's going to get tampered with tonight. Tampered with. In fact, the Lord's going to read your mail tonight. I never even heard that term, read my mail. What in
Yes.
the world is
Yes.
read my mail? But man, at that moment, I am feeling this tingling, like from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. I am like vibrating with.
Yes.
So what I would now say is the Holy Spirit just came upon me,
Right.
manifested on me somehow.
Right.
And he says, you've thought some things about me you wouldn't want me to repeat in front of all these people, haven't you? Yes. In fact, you've said some things about me you wouldn't want me to repeat in front of all these people. I go, man, yeah, please. I start laughing. Please, yeah, don't say a word about what I've. There's no way this guy could know that I had
Right.
this high level of skepticism.
Right.
But somehow the Lord knew. And he said, you've actually wanted to be wealthy, haven't you? And I thought, oh boy, I'm kind of being exposed here. I would like to be wealthy. Okay. He said, well, pay your tithe. He said, in fact, you have owed the Lord $10 in tithe and only given 5 of it. Isn't that true? That morning in church, I have had a little part-time job there in Bethany. And my paycheck was $100.50. I still had the paycheck. I got it on Friday, on payday. And I remember thinking, I owe $10 in tithe and I only have a $5 bill with me. I'm just going to put the $5 in this morning in the offering.
Gotcha.
And there's no way he could have known that I owed
Right.
$10
Yeah.
in tithe.
No
And I
chance.
only gave 5 of it. Boy, these are just these supernatural revelation. Again,
Mhm.
I couldn't have gotten. He didn't get with me or anybody I know before the service, to find out about whether I'd given tithe or not. But anyway, he says, you have 2 brothers and a sister, don't you? Yes, I do. And your sister kind of walks to the beat of a different drum, doesn't she? That's exactly the way I would describe my older sister. She truly walks to the beat of a different drum, just confirmation after confirmation that
Wow.
this guy, that there really is a God who hears and is miraculous and is supernatural. And then he says, "You've been praying for a wife, haven't you?" And I had specifically been praying, "Lord, would you prepare me for the woman you have picked for me? Would you prepare her to love me and
Yeah.
I love her in a way that she could feel loved?" Had truly been praying that. My prayer had just broken up with a girl that I thought was the one, and I was asking, "Lord, would you guide me to the right one?" And so
And that
he
right
said,
there,
"Well,
I'm gonna pause
yeah,
you a second on that because I think
go ahead,
that
yeah,
I think for any younger men, single men out there, if you're listening, hearing this, or and you're like, Lord, why or whatever, questioning,
right,
like
right,
that is the heart. That's the heart posture that we need to be in. It took me a while from my on my side when I finally surrendered to that. Like, okay, prepare me and prepare her. I give up trying to look or chase or anything.
right, right,
The
right."
next thing I knew, God, His timing was perfect. So, all right, go ahead,
Right.
continue.
Very good. Good word. All right. So I'm going to bring this I'm going
You're
to
doing
land this
great. No,
plane
no, yeah,
here.
you're fine. Come on.
But anyway, so he says, "You've been praying for a wife, haven't you?" "Yes, I have." He said, "Well, she's out there." And I thought, she's out there on the earth somewhere by now, right? If I'm 19, she's bound to be born, right? I thought, I think I could have come up with that as a prophetic word, again,
Yeah.
still being hopeful and
Right.
believing, and yet also
Right.
being still having this skeptical, this little tug of war going on, and he goes on to say, "Greg, pay your tithe." He said it like 4 or 5 times during our
Mm,
during our interaction, and just blew my mind. I went back and sat down. The service was over, and this girl comes walking up, and it's a girl I recognized from school, but she had an engagement ring on, and thus there's other fish in the sea,
right.
not to engage or talk to
Right.
the girls with engagement rings. So,
Yep.
but I'd seen her, very, very beautiful girl, and she walks up and goes, "I recognize you from school." I said, "I recognize you. I'm Greg Gunn. Hi, I'm Rhonda. I'm Rhonda Hanner." And I noticed that her fiance is in the back of the church, kind of pacing. We're down toward the front. And I'm thinking, now, if I had a girl this gorgeous as my fiance, I would be standing directly beside her as she's talking to me. And I said, "What is a girl like you going to a school that like we go to? What are you doing in a place like this?" She said, "Well, I'm wondering the same thing about you. What kind of journey brought you to this?" I said, "Well, I would love to take you to lunch. Could I get your number?" I got her number. We met 2 weeks later. And I said, "So how are you and your fiance doing?" "Well, we've broken up." And I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. Actually, glad to hear that." But anyway, well, we started dating, and a year and a half later, we were married. And it was when we got
Wow.
engaged that she told me the story of what happened in that service. She was sitting right next to her fiance in the service when he said, "You've been praying for a wife, haven't you?" And I said, "Yes, I have." She just knew he was going to say, "Well, she's in this service in a purple dress." She just thought that was the next words going to come out of his mouth. And of
Wow.
course, he didn't say that, but her fiance
Right.
leaned over. They had been in a big argument. They argued a lot. She felt like, of course, she loved him and that she was going to make this thing work. But he
Yeah.
looked over at her and said, "You think you're going to marry that guy that he's talking to up there, don't you?" And she said, "Yes, I do." He said, "So do I." I said, "Rhonda, he
Whoa.
really said to you, he thinks you're going to marry the guy, me?" Yeah, that's what he said. I go, "It's been a year. It's been a year ago." Okay. So I said, "Are you sure he said that?" "Yep, I am absolutely sure he said that." And
Wow.
we ended up getting married. And then out of that marriage, God has birthed this family vision, this family that God put us together to lay
Yeah.
the foundation. So where Family ID came from, Family Intentional Direction, started out called Family Vision Weekend, where we helped families put in writing their family mission statement, their vision statement, and their core values. And this started for us in 1997, 1996. I had just turned 36 years old. We had 3 daughters. a 9-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 6-month-old. And the associate pastor at our church, a guy named David Smith, was absent one Sunday in December. The next week he was back. And I said, David, where were you last week? He said, well, my wife and I were on our annual family goal setting weekend.
Yes.
I said, you have an annual family goal setting weekend? He said, yes, this is our 5th year. We go away once a year. We write goals for our marriage, goals for each other. We look at our family mission statement, our vision statement, and our core values. We then determine, did we actually live those out, or did we just claim them and really not really live them out? And then we make some adjustments on how do we make decisions now based on our values, based on our vision, based on our mission. How do we live out our faith as a family? And he said, Greg, I go, okay, stop, David. I was already at the time in the financial services business. I had my own investment firm. We had about 700 or 800 representatives in several, many of them part-time. We had a program to recruit investment advisors that would join us part-time initially, get their licenses, and then they would eventually go full-time. So I was already a goal setter. We went to every self-improvement course we could go to. We were very intentional at work, but the thought of having a family mission statement or having a family goal setting seminar, workshop, so forth, hadn't been within 1,000 miles of my head. And it was like in a millisecond, I thought, why am I so intentional at work, and everything I want to have happen at home is somehow going to happen by accident with no plan, no goals, no focus,
Yeah.
And it's like, I got it in a millisecond that I need to be as intentional at home as I am at work. Now, Stephen, I don't think I've ever hit that goal of being as intentional at home as I am at work, but I am aiming at it now more than I've ever aimed at it. And we want to help families around the world become as intentional at home. We want them to apply these powerful principles of casting visions. We believe that without a vision, the people perish, and without a family vision, the family will perish. And we've seen multi generations of people grow, Christian families who have just crossed our fingers and hoped that our children and the things we want to have happen at home are going to happen somehow by accident, and everything we want to have happen at work is going to happen with intention and with a plan, right? And
Right.
so this revolutionized Rhonda and I, and we had no idea that back there in 1980, 19 years old, that God was bringing us together, and this union would one day spawn this family vision ministry that has now had 60,000 families have gone through this workshop on how to write a family mission statement, how to write your family core values, how
Yeah.
to create a family heritage and legacy that you can pass to every generation of your family. So, Stephen, I'm telling you, the 4 things that every family must pass, the inheritance that every family must leave to their children and grandchildren. Number 1 is they must leave a powerful, compelling family vision. Without a vision, the people perish, and without a family vision, the family will perish. They not only have to have a vision, they must inherit a vision. They must inherit your family core values, your family virtues. There are 4 cardinal virtues, according to C.S. Lewis, that every family, I believe, we need to pass these powerful core pivotal virtues. That's the cardinal means pivotal. It's like the hinge that everything hangs on this hinge of family virtues or values. And then they must inherit your village of advisors. They must inherit the books that you've read, the people you've met, the mentors that have shaped your core values, that have shaped the virtues of your life, the values that have really made you successful. They must inherit. Our children must inherit our advisors. If Solomon had really spent time connecting Rehoboam, his son, who would eventually take over the kingdom, if he had spent the time to build relationship between his advisors and his son, then his son would have accepted the counsel of his advisors, but he didn't. He rejected their counsel and took the counsel of his peer group and ended up dividing the kingdom, and it did not recover until 1948. And so, how do we pass our village of advisors to our future generations? Because if they inherit your vision, your core values, and your village of advisors, they won't even need your valuables. They won't even need your assets.
That's
But if
good.
all they inherit is your financial assets, within 2 generations, 70% of all inherited wealth is gone. By the end of the third generation, 90% of all inherited wealth is gone because they didn't inherit the vision, the values, and the village of advisors. If they get the first three, your grandchildren and great grandchildren will build the financial value, financial assets will come because they've got the things that make that happen. In 1997, we started doing family ID workshops. We did it for our
Okay.
Sunday school class first. Then we
Yeah.
had companies come to us and say, "Hey, would you come and do this for these Christian or kingdom company leaders?" Would have us come
Yeah.
and help each family develop in their business, develop their family mission, vision, and values. In 2003, we formed a nonprofit organization called Family Vision Ministries. And we've been doing this family intentional direction, family ID workshop now since 2003, and it's been exciting.
Wow.
That's a little bit of our story,
That's amazing. I love that.
and
That
so
is great.
we would love to help any one of you. I know someone listening to this today.
Come
This has
on.
sparked something in you. God has already been speaking to you about having a multi generational vision. And because of our eschatology, I grew up thinking, why would I have a vision for my next 2 or 3 or 4 generations when the
Mm.
Lord is going to return probably in my lifetime? You know, I grew up as a teenager. I'm not even going to be married before the Lord returns, right? So
Right.
here now I turned 65 in a couple of weeks. And so here it is. I'm 65, and what if the Lord tarries another 300 years? What is it that you and your future generations are going to be busy about? What are these family documents, this family vision statement, this mission, these core values? What is this that we could pass intentionally to every generation that would change the direction of our children and grandchildren? And so I would love, Stephen, to be a part of helping every family create these most powerful documents. If you think about it, the Bible is the family archives, the family constitution for one family, Abraham's family. And we got to be adopted into that family. So
That's
the
right.
Bible
That's
is
right.
a history of our family archives, all written by 40 authors with the same DNA over 1,500 years. What if we could create our family constitution, our family documents that we're going to pass? And we want to help families do that. So thank you.
So
Thank you for letting me share all that.
oh yeah, wow, that was amazing. Okay, so for those who want to connect with that, is it
Yes.
Family ID?
It's family-id.com.
Okay. Okay.
And we have lots of YouTube videos. If you just go on YouTube and type in Family ID Greg Gunn, you can just start filtering through. We've got a playlist of videos that have been out there for 20 plus years and some that have been out there 20 days ago. But that you can start consuming
Yeah.
these powerful revelations that God has given us for laying a foundation. So our vision statement really started in Tulsa when this friend of ours, the associate pastor, said, Greg, you need to do a family goal setting weekend. He said, you need to drive at least an hour, give you and your wife some windshield time. We took our 6-month-old daughter with us. So we drove to Tulsa, and it was in Tulsa, Oklahoma that God gave us. So something anointed about Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Come on. Come
We
on.
we got this vision statement, and literally he spoke through the end of our pen. We asked God to reveal the Gunn family vision that we could pass to every generation of our family. And out of that first weekend goal setting time, God gave us the Gunn family vision statement, which is to lay the foundations for many godly generations. We want to lay a foundation in this generation for many godly generations to build on this foundation for every family member. That they would this vision would capture their heart, their imagination. Vision creates passion. You show me someone that's got no passion, they don't have a passion problem. They
Yeah.
have a vision problem,
Vision problem. Yeah.
because vision creates passion.
That's
And
right.
that's really the biggest calling on us as parents and grandparents, is to cast a compelling vision to our children and grandchildren, that they will stand on our shoulders, and that our children and grandchildren will be more on fire for God in their generation than we are in our generation. So when we said, Lord, would you give the Gunn family, the core values that we are going to stand on, that we're going to pass? What is it that our vision is that we want each generation to be busy about? And man, out of the end of our pen came laying the foundations for many godly generations. Little did we know that that would become our life's work, helping families lay the foundation for many godly generations. So for several years, from 2003 to 2010, we built both our financial services business, and we built the Family ID, Family Vision Ministry. And then in 2010, we felt led to sell the financial business and go full time. So for the last 15 years, we have been
Phew.
taking this message of
Yeah.
multi-generational vision, multi-generational values to every really all over the U.S., Canada. Now we've got our curriculum in 7 different languages. We've had about 60,000 families go through the workshop now, and it's just, I am more on fire today than I was
Yeah.
1990, 97, and so excited to meet you and be on this podcast with
Yeah.
someone else from the Gunn family. So
That's right.
thank you for
Well,
letting me
sure.
rant and rave here for
Oh no, I love it. I
this
love it. I
period.
think one of the things I want to kind of hit on from this, which has been a great, amazing overview and some in-depth key points, which I think are super helpful.
Great.
I think in light of especially where we are now in society, I think
Yes.
that
Yes.
2 things as you were talking that jumped out at me. One, the Christian family unit is so crucial to being the strength for to carry society, right? Like,
Mm.
to be able to help keep things moving in the right direction. The Christian unit, the Christian family is
Yes.
it's that whole holding it together, right? And so, um, like I just had this picture of, if you ever have ground that has become washed away and there's dirt,
Mhm.
you put a whole bunch of little plugs of grass in it, and it starts to grow together, and then it holds the dirt from washing away, right? So
Wow.
otherwise
Very
the dirt
good.
washes away, but
Wow.
you put them in a certain spacing together. Putting one in the middle wouldn't do anything, but you put several, and it actually they pull across to each other and they connect, and now they're holding, and now that holds the whole ground there. And so that's
Wow.
kind of the picture I felt like, about that for the world and for society, that Christians placed in the right purpose in the right places
Yes.
are that, right, for the
Yes.
world.
Yes. Yes. That's so
Other thing
good.
I'm going to say too is, and I think your calling and your wording was to the family at large, but I'm going to speak to the guys for a second here,
That's
and I'm
good.
going to say that men, and I have felt this so strong the last, I'd say 4 to 5 months, and it just
Okay.
got kicked up even higher the last 2 or 3 weeks, as we all know, and what's been going on.
Sure. Yes.
But like, this is a time for men to step up and to be the leaders, to be who we're called to be in the family. And
Yes. Yes.
there's
Yes.
been too long of this being okay to just kind of make it by. And I've felt this yearning
Right.
inside of I've got to do some changes physically. Like I know for where I'm at physically, I
Very
can't,
good.
I'm not going to be where I need to be in, 30 years if I keep on doing what I'm doing. So there's changes there.
Right.
There's
Good.
things I started doing on the, prayer and reading the Bible with my kids, like being intentional with that. So those kind of
Very good.
practices, I think, like for me, and this is, yeah. So this is what, and I told this before, but this is what my dad passed when I was 22. I graduated ORU. 3 weeks
Wow.
later, my dad passed, went to heaven.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
It was a crazy story, but long story short, it ultimately was from got some infection and stuff, and so it was
Bye.
passed way too early. He's 53 years old and just way too early. You would have had a blast getting to know him, by the way.
I'd love it.
Yeah. Anyway, so he, when that happened,
Right.
I thought back and thought a couple things. One is I pictured, I literally in the hospital, I pictured my getting married and having kids and him not being a part of that, not them getting to know them. Well, God
Right.
redeemed one of those immediately in that my wife actually did know my family prior to that. So she knew him and knew
Great.
my mom and because
Sure.
of, God's goodness in that. So there's a legacy of
Right.
that. But the second thing is I had the picture and the image of what my dad did and how I would find him in the mornings. And it was typically sitting out on the patio with a cup of coffee and the Bible reading.
Wow.
And so that's what I picture is that I would go, and if it was raining, he'd go be in the den, reading the Bible, or in the
My
living room
goodness.
or at the kitchen table or, and so it has been this challenge for me. I haven't been successful at it 100% of the time.
Sure.
Honest point, but I have
Yeah. Me either.
desired
Me either.
that. And I think to your point, you said, we're not perfect at goals, but if you don't have a goal to hit, you're not going to hit. You can shoot in the dark,
Right.
you're going to hit something.
That's right.
But if you have a target to hit, you're going to hit maybe
Yeah.
that target a lot easier if you have something to look at. And so
Very good. Very
that's, I
good.
think, the image for me and for my family is to be the leader, and to be
Yes.
that leader
Yes.
of Jesus is the answer. Jesus is the way.
Right.
Read the
Right.
word. The word of God is true, alive,
Yes.
living. I think it's Hebrews 22:22 says his word is alive, or maybe it's 2. I don't know. It's is alive and cuts us like a sword, laying us wide open. We're truly naked before him. Like
Yeah. Right.
I
Right.
had,
Very
I had a
good.
shirt in high school. I think it said "Pray naked," and that's the
Oh,
scripture on it. It's one
right.
of those '90s shirts that like people are like, "What's that?" I'm like, "It's a great conversation starter." I'm not
That's
telling
so
you to pray
funny.
naked, legit. I'm telling you to lay our spirit open before you, not our
Right.
physical bodies, right? But it was a good
Right.
conversation point. People, what
Right.
is that
Amen.
shirt?
Oh, that's great.
And so I just want to say that I think that's a key thing. And so what would you say in the last 5 years that you've seen in the cultural side of how this has shaped and changed families
Yes.
living with purpose?
Well, the powerful thing is that there is an author that has become very close to. His name is Jeremy Pryor. Jeremy Pryor, and that would be. I'd love it for to put his website on the podcast because Jeremy is one of the foremost thinkers in America and maybe even in the world in this area of multi-generational family vision, multi-generational family power.
Mm,
He at age 23 he moved to Israel to study the Jewish family, and
wow.
then he ended up studying primarily the Jewish fathers. Here's what he discovered: in the East, the Far East, Middle East, Near East, the father is the most focused person in the family on the family. That is an Eastern mindset.
Mm,
In the West, who would you say is the most focused person in the family on the family in the
I'd say
West?
traditionally the women probably.
That's
That's the
exactly right. That's exactly
expectation.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the Bible was written from an Eastern mindset, and that's why even you and I both are so drawn to this. I need to be as intentional at home as I am at work because the Spirit of the living God who has the Eastern mindset. Okay. So to show you how the Bible is
Good.
written from
Right.
that Eastern mindset. In the prodigal son story, in that parable, where is the mother?
Yep.
Where is the mother mentioned in
She's
that
not.
story? No, she has to be there. There
Right.
has to be one.
Right. Right.
But in sharing this parable with an Eastern mindset of that culture, that all made sense to them, that because every male, every man, whether they're a father, whether they're not a father, whatever, or grandfather, they are still the most focused person in the family, on
Mhm.
the family. And that's what I'm calling that out, and I'm calling that up into every person listening to this podcast, that that drive for you to be intentional at home, for you to want to do like you, Stephen, saw your dad. I saw my dad seeking God, praying. He's the one that would lead in prayer. He's the one initiate. So the spiritual leader of a family is the person who initiates spiritual things. It's not the person who's been a believer longer. It's not the one who's got more scripture memorized. It's not. That spiritual leader is the person who initiates spiritual things. So I speak that now
Amen.
prophetically over every man,
Come on.
every woman who's looking for a man. You can say to him, I am so grateful that you are the spiritual leader of our family. And it's almost
Yes.
like, I am, of course. You are the one who initiates spiritual things. And that just speaking that word prophetically over your men, over the men in your life, over your sons, over your husband, over your nieces, nephews, over your siblings. You are the most focused person in the family, on the family. And that's that Eastern mindset. And so that's why I love what God has
Good.
called you to do, to bring this podcast message and how God is using it to empower this Eastern mindset, the calling on us as spiritual leaders. And I say that not to in any way diminish. In fact, without our girls, the girls and the women in our lives, they're the ones that help make that true. They're so needed. You talk about a helpmate. There's no way we could
Yeah.
do it without them. But yet, it's so awesome when a man, just like we've seen with Charlie Kirk, the young men that they were calling these young men up to become that Eastern mindset of, I'm going to be the most focused person in the family, on the family. I'm going to pass that to my children. I'm going to pass it to my siblings and nieces and nephews. So, what a powerful word.
Yeah, that's good. I think that that is exactly the word, is the men. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't, give credit to my mom for, after
Amen.
my dad
Amen.
passed, for carrying and she was, I know, here's the thing too, I'll say, is that she also was the one who I knew was the prayer warrior, and is to this day a prayer warrior, and leads,
Mine,
prayer
mine too.
warrior groups.
So
I mean,
true.
just amazing. And so I think that if there is that sensation, a feeling of a prioritization in a class structure, that's not at
Yes,
all what it's talking about.
I agree.
It's a
I agree.
collaborative push and position, because my guess is, in that story of the prodigal, the wife was preparing the fatted calf. That was the direction given.
Absolutely.
She was leading and guiding the kitchen. Okay, sir, you get this, you do this, and she was like,
Right, right, right.
doing, because guess what? Women can also multitask way better than we can. Like, that's just the way
It,
they're made. So
absolutely.
she's guiding 15 people. We're thinking about one thing at that moment, and she's thinking about 15. And so I think that's
Oh,
that's the
yes. She
level
is
of,
so right. She is so vital. And she's
yeah.
kind of the person of the Trinity. She's somewhat in that position of the Holy Spirit.
Mm,
Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness. She brings all of that into our families and into our
hmm.
lives. And without her, we can't do it. We're not a whole person without our girls. And they're emotional beings that God has created to help us keep us grounded in the here and the now. We as men are like visionaries. I'm a visionary, crazy guy with great vision, and if I didn't have Rhonda, if you didn't have your precious wife, your mother involved in
Hmm.
your life, then we
Yep.
wouldn't get the practical stuff done. We'd go without food and and everything.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm guessing you probably have had at least one instance, if not 15 or 20, where your wife said, I don't that doesn't seem right. And you go, she goes, nah. And you go, okay, that's the Holy Spirit speaking through my wife. That
Very good.
the
So
check,
true.
the check is
So
off.
true.
We don't want to go that route. And sure enough, you find out,
Right.
months, days, years later, you go,
so
that's why
true.
she felt that way.
Right. Very
Boy,
good. Very
okay.
good. And it requires us to operate in humility and to love our lives and to lay down our lives for our wives as Christ laid down his life for the church. It's
Church. That's right.
the calling of every man is to run to the end of the line. How can I serve? It's the three things that the girl you're looking for any of you young men out there,
Come on.
there are three
Speak it.
things the girl you're looking for is looking for. Number one, she's looking for a servant and spiritual leader. A servant and a spiritual leader. If you work on that as a young man, that's one of the powerful qualities that the girl you're looking for is looking for. The second is as a proven provider. The girl you're looking for is looking for a servant and spiritual leader and a proven provider. And she's also looking for someone who will lead the family in a direction with vision, a vision caster. Okay. And I'm telling you, it's one of the most powerful qualities you have as a family is to cast vision. Vision is what creates passion. Passion creates discipline. Discipline creates total commitment, and total commitment will change the world. So those are some powerful qualities that God has gifted you with, and that's the girl you're looking. So hey, if you want to be a chick magnet for the right kind of chick, then you work hard on those three things: to be a servant and spiritual leader, to be a proven provider. Oh, and then to be a boundary setter. For you to set the boundaries as this visionary, you're the one that says, "Hey, this is going to be the boundary of our physical relationship. This is going to be the boundary I've set for what I will look at on my phone." And I'm going to suggest all of you, I want you to say, you know what? I'm gonna limit what I'm able to look at or watch on television or movies or whatever. I'm going to limit that to this new standard. I'm only going to look at something that I would want my wife or my children or my siblings to watch me watch.
Mm.
How many that takes this standard from I'm not going to look at pornography or lustful stuff. I'm going to limit my new guardrail, my new standard, my new boundary is that I'm only going to look at something that I would want currently my wife or my children to watch me watch. Would I want them to watch me watch that? No, I don't think I would want them to watch me watch that, right? So that's
Yeah,
that boundary. Okay.
that's
I'm
good.
going to be a proven provider, a servant leader, and a boundary setter. And that's the new way of us as men to be this Eastern mindset for the family. I'm going to be the most focused person in the family on the family.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well,
Praise God.
so this has been phenomenal. I really
Great.
enjoyed this, Greg, and I think I definitely want, if you're in Tulsa area, I want to connect with you again. If I can make it down to OKC area, I want to be able to connect with you in
Absolutely.
person at some
Absolutely. I'd love
point.
it. I'd love it, Stephen.
Well, I know coming up, are you coming back up for the 94X event?
Yes, I'll be up.
Okay, so we'll see
Yes.
each other there. We should connect before that. I know it's
Okay.
coming about a month out from now.
We will.
So we'll have to connect there, and then so this is kind of a fun thing I like to do. We've had some really good, engaging conversation, but let's say this I call it popcorn at the end. Just kind of some fun questions about you, and maybe
Great.
you're sitting down to somebody has said whatever you want, whatever food you want to have, I'll prepare it for you and make it in front of you.
Right.
What would be your favorite thing to have?
My favorite thing is I love pork chops, and there's a
Ooh,
restaurant that I get these wonderful pork chops from, and
okay,
it's definitely not coming from my being adopted
right,
into the Jewish family, but
right.
there's a great restaurant in Oklahoma. There may be one in Tulsa, but that provides this wonderful meal. But that's one of my favorites. And I'm also a kind of I'm an adventurer when it comes to food. I love to adventure something new.
I love that.
I love food that comes from India.
Okay.
I love,
Yeah.
I just love adventure. So always someone's gone to on a vacation, they've gone maybe even outside of the United States, and I'm always asking, okay, so what did you have for breakfast? Oh, that
Yes.
sounds like a great. What'd you have for lunch? I'm a kind of a food adventurer, so
Yeah. Well,
great, great
that's so
question.
true. That's a good trait to have. I mean, I've
Yeah.
traveled the globe as well, and if you're
Wow.
willing to try some stuff when when you don't even know what it is and can't read the
It's
directions or the ingredients at all, it's like, well,
yeah.
it looks kind of good. Let's try and see what happens.
Right. Right. A good word. Good word.
On
Thank
that,
you. That's
actually,
great.
that's actually the next question is what food or what place have you traveled? Let's pivot this way. So,
Yeah.
what place have you traveled to that is somewhere that just it made a mark on you? You enjoyed it, or
Yes.
God just breathed on that, like whatever that is.
Yes. Yes. Well, we got to take family ID to India. And
Okay,
so we've had about 10,000 families go through the family ID workshop in southern India.
that's wonderful.
Yeah, one of the greatest stories I've heard about India is that Thomas, doubting Thomas, was probably the only apostle to go outside the Roman Empire on his missionary journeys. And he
Mm,
went to what is called Kerala today, which would be our kind of our Southern California coast. The state of Kerala is real skinny, kind of like Chile, at the southern part of India down here on
okay,
that end.
yeah.
He planted 7 churches there, and led close to 20,000 people to Christ. And then he was martyred by Hindu priests, and his remains are in a city called Chennai, which is on the other coast, what would be kind of our Savannah, Georgia.
Okay, yeah,
As far as that coast is called the
yeah. I
city of Chennai, city of about 8 million.
think
And
I've heard of
southern
Chennai.
India
Yeah.
is still about 30% Christian because of the influence of the apostle Thomas. Um, so that was there that I man fell in love with Indian culture and Indian food and and just the fact that there are people on earth today that can tie their Christianity back to an apostle, call themselves in southern India call themselves Ma Thomas, from Thomas.
Hmm.
Dude, think about a family
Wow.
who's passed their faith for 2,000 years
Wow.
to maybe one of the only places on earth, where the 7 churches were of Revelation, were all
Yeah.
today in what is now southern Turkey, and about 90 plus percent Muslim. And so here's India that is still today 30% Christian due to Thomas's efforts. So I just love
Amazing.
India. I love their food. Um,
Man,
yeah,
I love it.
my
Some
wife
good
and I
curry
watch a
from
lot of
India.
food travel shows. It's another
There you
fun thing we
go.
get to
Yeah.
do.
I love that. I love that. What's something exciting you about 2026? What's something coming up that you're excited about?
Well, God has given us a vision for 2033.
Okay.
2033,
Yep.
they are going to make a worldwide announcement in 2033 that the Bible has now been translated into every language. 98.6% of all human languages, the Bible will have been translated either in whole or in part to
Whoa.
all 7,000 languages on earth and dialects. And we are preparing right now, and this runway is from 2025 to 2033, this 8-year period, that we would like to have a simultaneous announcement of the century of the family, 2033 to
Mm,
2133. And the reason that the Bible should be translated into every language is really for one purpose, so that every father and mother, every grandparent can read the Bible to their children in their own heart language. If we're just going to get the Bible translated into every language, and if it was the cure, just having the Bible in English were the cure to
right.
all of our world's problems, we wouldn't have any problems in the English or Spanish or Italian, because the Bible has been translated for centuries
Come on.
into those languages. Really, the purpose is so that parents and grandparents can disciple their own family. Because of this worldwide breakdown of the family, it's bankrupting every nation on earth with the social problems caused by the breakdown of the family. I think we should make, and we should, I'm praying that this message that I'm just sharing now will go, and this podcast will be retweeted and go viral,
Yes.
so that we as a culture and as a Christian world, we're going to have this simultaneous announcement of the Bible being translated into every language. And now we're going to start the century, the 100 years, to focus on restoring the family worldwide. And I believe that is where the great awakening is going to happen, a multi-generational great awakening. And so that's my
Yeah.
vision for
I love
2020.
it.
In 2026, we're going to continue to build on this 8-year vision to make this simultaneous announcement, to build the runway
On.
so that we can launch simultaneously the century of the family, and that the Bible is now translated so that every family can read or record, and have your children and grandchildren listen to God's
Wow.
word.
Amen. Wow, that's good. Well, that's interesting. That aligns a lot with where ORU is headed. There's a lot of
Wow.
vision that ORU has brought, and Dr. Wilson as president, just speaking out that, and a lot of what we're
Wow.
doing. One of the side elements of ORU is the E21 and that focus,
Wow.
and so that group specifically is kind of leading the charge in that 2033 initiative. So
Wow.
the whole world will know. That's kind of the
Wow.
focus.
Yes. Yes.
So I think there's something about that significant about that time frame. Obviously, I'm not ignorant to think of the 3 plus 2000 would be 2033. So I get that part.
Right.
But you know what jumped out at me when you said that, and I don't know if you've thought about
Wow.
this at all, but you said 98.6%,
Right.
right?
Right. Right.
I wonder if that's there's correlation that's the body temperature of the average body temperature of a human being.
Well, I didn't even. That's powerful. Yeah.
Like
That's
that jumped
man.
out. I was like, whoa, that's okay. What's
Right.
the significance there? That's interesting to me.
Right. Very good.
I'm a
Very
numbers
good.
person. Sometimes the numbers things like speak to me more. I'm like,
Very
there's
good.
something to that, you know?
Very good.
So
Man, you can see
that's good.
God. Some people can't see God anywhere, but you can see God even in these numbers. So that's beautiful. That's
I love
awesome,
it. Yeah.
Stephen.
Amen. Amen. Well, this has been a phenomenal time with GEB America podcast. My guest today has been Greg Gunn, a brother from another mother. And I appreciate the time, appreciate the insight, the passion, the purpose behind what you're doing. And we definitely,
Fantastic.
I think there's some stuff we can probably dig into even more. And I think we
Right.
need to have you back again next year at some point and
Would
talk
love
some
it. I
more
would love it.
and catch
Yeah.
up on where things are going. How's that 8-year, how's the goals
Right. Good. Good.
and I think whatever God wants to do else as
Amen.
well.
Amen.
So,
I
hey,
love
if
it.
you've enjoyed this podcast, please, like you said, like, share, retweet, follow, send it to somebody, whether you're on X, whether you're watching us through pray.com, shout out to our pray.com audience, as well as those on the different podcast platforms. And this has been an amazing time that you have hopefully been blessed by, and we ask you to share it with somebody else today. And remember, with Jesus, you can truly live well.